Hey guys, welcome back. You've read the title, you're hyped, so let's get this show on the road. The other day, 343 released a pretty lengthy waypoint post about MCC, Reach, PC, and all that good stuff, and as you can see, when I said lengthy, I wasn't kidding. It's like 4,000 words long, so today I'm going to give you all the juicy bits of information that you need to know about the Halo community's impending rapture. I do want to quickly announce that I've officially enabled YouTube memberships for those who maybe want to support me and the channel a little bit further here on YouTube. Basically, memberships work exactly like subscribing on Twitch does. You pay like $4.99 a month, I think, and you get a unique badge next to your name that you can show off in the comments down below and also in live stream chats, and the longer you remember, the badge sort of changes and becomes even cooler. And you also get some pretty unique emotes for live stream chats too, all Halo related. It's totally optional, but just know that if you do choose to become a member, then I appreciate you a lot. So, let's get back to the juicy stuff. First off, let's get the, in air quotes, bad news out of the way. It's not really that bad. I think at this point, every man and his dog knows that Reach flighting was supposed to start in April, and Sketch even said last month that if all went to plan, it would, and that we'd be playing Reach in MCC by the end of the month, and clearly, we aren't playing Reach in MCC, and clearly it hasn't gone to plan. Now, to be fair, people have actually been quite understanding about the delay, honestly, but there have been a few people who haven't, so I'm just going to say this anyway. Do you really want 343 to just push Reach and MCC out the door without it being ready again? We've already had this happen once with MCC, and like it was one of the most catastrophic events, not only in like Halo history, but in the entire history of the gaming industry. For years, MCC was regarded to as the worst launch in gaming history, and I mean, even 5 years later, I still think that it holds that title. Would you really want that to happen again? If it did happen again, it'd be even worse this time. Like, could you imagine if Halo's entry into a new market that it hasn't touched for like almost 2 decades, and that could potentially lead to Halo being bigger than it ever has been before, was just a broken mess that didn't work? To say that that would leave a bad taste in people's mouths would be a little bit of an understatement. I get that a lot of people are really hyped to play Reach on PC, and that's totally reasonable, but I'm not joking when I say that there is literally zero room for like any form of error whatsoever when it comes to anything MCC related. 343 already used up all their extra lives with MCC's launch, and they literally cannot make a mistake with it ever again, let alone when trying to expand to a new platform. I want Reach and MCC on PC as much as everyone else, and do I wish I was playing it now? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we absolutely have to give 343 all the time they need for this. We cannot let them mess it up a second time around. That said, they did say a lot of good progress has already been made, so it's really not as bad as it might have sounded. They also confirmed that they have Reach running on both console MCC and PC, and apparently it looks fantastic, which doesn't shock me in the slightest. Reach in itself is a gorgeous looking game, and upscaling that to 4K is, gonna look gorgeous. So, with that out of the way, let's get on to the good stuff. Now, before we start talking about the really exciting new Reach-style progression system, we first need to talk about the pillars of the game. Now, pillars are basically 343's main priorities with Reach and MCC PC. The main features that they're sort of striving for, and they're broken down into 3 categories. The first is PC native. Now, these features are exactly what they say on the tin, honestly. They're all the new additions and changes that they're going to have to make to the games to turn them into true PC games, with all the features that PC players expect. 343's philosophy is that merely porting all these games to PC isn't going to cut it, and that's absolutely right. That's music to my ears. They need to be authentic, true to the name PC games that don't feel like they were originally designed purely for console. This means adding things like complete key binding remapping, PC-styled UIs, FOV sliders, text chat, full video customization settings, borderless full screen and alt-tab support for people like me who never want to XP waste, and many, many more features. The too long don't read of this is Basically, 343 are turning all the Halo games into authentic PC games that feel like they were designed for PC from day one, which is very encouraging. The second pillar is legacy, and this essentially boils down to changing the gameplay of the games as little as humanly possible, while still adapting the games for PC users with keyboard and mouse and varying DPIs and so on. One of the examples they use for this, which is kind of weird to me, is the transition between standing and crouching. I don't know, that seems strange to me. Apparently, internal playtests with PC players have brought up the issue that in modern shooters, there's an expectation of better support when transitioning from standing to crouching, but I don't really get what that means. Like, crouching in Halo is already faster and more responsive than pretty much every popular PC game that I know. Counter-Strike, Battlefield, Fortnite, Apex, and so on. I don't really know what this means. I mean, maybe it means something that I'm completely missing. The same goes for aim assist as well. Obviously with keyboard and mouse, you don't need aim assist, but with controllers, you do. So they need to find a sweet spot where it's useful for controller players, but not too overpowered. All in all, I think this pillar is pretty self-explanatory. And the third and final pillar is engagement and evolution, and this is where it gets really interesting. This pillar marks the beginning of a journey to evolve MCC over time and aid in its growth. Now, this includes things like expanding the field of view and frame rate customization settings over time, as well as adapting the UI sort of section by section for different PC setups, likely starting with the most used sections of the UI to the least. But this also includes the new MCC-wide reach-style progression system. Now, this thing sounds legitimately exciting. Literally, since launch of MCC, I wanted a progression system of some sort, because without one, every game just sort of feels pointless. Like, there's no long-term effect of winning a game in MCC because you literally get nothing for it. There is no reward whatsoever for winning a game. Whereas with a progression system, you get something. You get XP and you get armor unlocks. Each game, whether you win, draw, or lose, leaves its mark on your profile, which, of course, inspires you to play well and win games. However, that's not all. 343 and Splash Damage, who are the company helping them with the PC ports, had these exact words to say. Initially, it'll be a straightforward and familiar system that allows players to track their Halo gameplay experience and unlock rewards. Our plans for progression are much wider, however, and we have a few things up our sleeve that we hope will really engage the whole Halo community. And later, our goal is to deliver a system that captures the spirit of progression in Halo Reach, but delivers it in a more modern way. Think leveling, seasons, and unlocks. More details coming soon. So, we've discussed this before quite a lot, but to me, this really sounds like a Battle Pass system. Now, before anyone starts to panic or freak out in the comments, there will be no monetization involved in this whatsoever, and without monetization, a Battle Pass system honestly just works about the same as leveling systems in games used to. You play games, you get XP, and you level up, and you get unlocks for leveling up. Seems pretty normal, right? However, the cool thing that comes with it being a Battle Pass, as 343 said, would be seasons. This means that every couple of months, the progression system gets completely refreshed with new content. For the record, I still have no idea whatsoever if it is a Battle Pass system or not, but to me, that description sounds a hell of a lot like a Battle Pass. Now, considering that this system won't just be for Reach, but instead for MCC as a whole, I have no idea what the unlocks are going to be. Like, I know this probably sounds really far-fetched, but maybe we'll get new armors for Reach and Halo 3 to unlock? I don't know, that's probably very unlikely to happen, but honestly, what else could there be? Leave your suggestions down in the comments, because I genuinely, I've thought about this, and I have no idea whatsoever as to what this could be. As for what they'll have up their sleeve that will really engage the Halo community, again, I have no idea what that could be, but I'm excited. With how all out 343 are going with MCC now, the mind truly boggles as to what this could mean. The second it gets revealed, just know that I'll be covering it on this channel in all its glorious detail. Alrighty, so moving on to some of the other stuff in the blog post, there was a big section in it from Splash Damage, who are the UK company that I spoke about before, that are helping port all the games to PC, and there was some pretty interesting stuff in there. They've been digging through a lot of the original code for the games that Bungie were writing as early as like the mid-90s, and there's some pretty funny stuff in there, I'm not gonna lie. Lots of late night commits to the code that the Bungie guys added with their, how should we put this, their own little messages tagged onto them. You can definitely see how the development crunches for Combat Evolved, Halo 2 and Halo 3 got to the Bungie guys back in the day. They also noted how interesting it is that pieces of code that were written in like the 90s for Combat Evolved were still there in the code of games released decades later. Kinda goes to show how weird and legacy orientated the Halo engine really is. And speaking of the engine, they revealed just how much they're working with, and honestly, it's no surprise that things are taking a little longer than expected. All in all, they're dealing with over 7 terabytes worth of games, and I think a total of 6 different variations of the Halo engine, and 2 third-party engines that are used for the new graphics in Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, and also Halo 2 Anniversary. So in total, there's 8 engines there. When you look at it like that, I think giving them a little more time to work on it is totally fair. Moving on, they were asked what their biggest priority is with porting these games to PC, and their answer was the input system, so basically the controls. They seem intent on getting just about every form of movement and aiming customization in the settings, which is great to hear. One of the reasons games like Counter-Strike are so big is because how crisp and tight the aiming feels. Moving the mouse genuinely feels like you're aiming the gun because of how low all the latency and input delay is, and that was one of the biggest issues with Halo 5 on PC. The input delay was, quite frankly, disgusting. It was unplayable, so it's great to hear that they're addressing that, and of course, all the other input settings too. And lastly, they announced something that I am unbelievably happy to hear. They're working on a major overhaul of MCC's UI. I genuinely cannot put into words how much I hate the functionality of the current MCC UI. It's just so slow and sluggish and painful to use. Compared to old Halo games like Reach, where if I died I could revert the checkpoint in less than a second, it takes 3 or 4 whole seconds in MCC, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it adds up over time. The rest of the UI is like that as well, transitioning between pages in the menu is so slow, and moving between different tabs it's just painfully unresponsive. It's not a nice UI to use at all, so I seriously just cannot put into words how happy I am that they're gutting the UI, because, my lord, MCC needs it more than anything. And so, I think that's just about everything from the blog post. They also announced at the end that they blew past their target number of Halo insiders only a few hours after they announced it, which honestly isn't even that surprising to me. I mean, MCC is still the most wishlisted game on the entirety of Steam, so to say that a lot of people are hyped is just a little bit of an understatement, I think. So, that's all for today, fellas. Hopefully some of these new details got you even more hyped than you were before, despite the short delays. Just know that, despite that, when this game launches, genuinely, I think it's going to be like nothing that Halo has ever seen before. I'm expecting population numbers to be pretty damn good, to say the least. So, with all that said, I want to give a big shout out to Taylor Elliott for becoming a new Primordial over on Patreon, as well as, of course, everyone else over there who supports me, and thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next one.